Homelessness in the U.S. is up 48% since 2015, and Americans are now being laid off in droves, Michael Snyder reports. How can anyone out there possibly believe the U.S. economy is doing well? As you'll see below, the numbers of homeless Americans has risen to the highest level ever recorded, and large companies all over the country are laying off workers in droves. As I've discussed previously, he says, the number of Americans that were laid off in 2023 jumped 98% compared to the year before, and now during the first month of 2024, it feels like we're being hit by a tsunami of layoffs. It literally seems like someone has turned a fire hose on, but the Biden administration continues to insist that unemployment is low and that the outlook for the U.S. economy is positive. Honestly, I don't understand how the Biden administration can say that the outlook for the U.S. economy is positive when the number of Americans that are homeless has been increasing at the fastest pace ever recorded. According to a brand new report that was just released by Harvard's Joint Center for Housing Studies, the number of homeless Americans has increased 48% since 2015. According to a January 25th report from Harvard's Joint Center for Housing Studies, roughly 653,000 people reported experiencing homelessness in January of 2023, up roughly 12% from the same time a year prior and 48% from 2015, and that marks the largest single-year increase in the country's unhoused population on record, Harvard researchers said. Homelessness, long a problem in states such as California and Washington, has also increased in historically more affordable parts of the U.S. Arizona, Ohio, Tennessee, and Texas have seen the largest growths in their unsheltered population due to rising local housing costs. We can see evidence of this all around us. Tent cities are popping up like mushrooms in our major cities, and countless Americans are living in their vehicles and RVs. One of the primary reasons why homelessness has been surging so dramatically is because rental costs have soared to unprecedented heights. Rent in the U.S. has steadily climbed since 2001. In analyzing census and real estate data, the Harvard researchers found that half of all U.S. households across income levels spent between 30% and 50% of their monthly pay on housing in 2022, defining them as cost-burdened. Some 12 million tenants were severely cost-burdened that year, meaning they spent more than half their monthly pay on rent and utilities, up 14% from pandemic levels. People earning between $45,000 and $74,999 per year took the biggest hit from rising rents. On average, 41% of their paycheck went towards rent and utilities, the Joint Center for Housing Studies said. Tenants should generally allocate no more than 30% of their income towards rent, according to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Joe Biden insists that inflation is low. You believe him, don't you? Sadly, more Americans will soon be hitting the streets because we're witnessing an insane wave of layoffs all over the nation. Right now, it's been reported that Salesforce has decided to conduct another round of layoffs. Salesforce is cutting 700 employees, the Wall Street Journal reported. The job cuts, which amount to about 1% of its global workforce, follow a series of workforce reduction last year. In 2023, Mark Benioff's company laid off about 10% of its total workforce as it grappled with a swarm of activist inventors who wanted margins increased faster than planned. And we had just learned that REI will be giving the axe to 357 workers. REI is laying off 357 workers, mostly in the outdoor retailers' headquarters and distribution centers. In a letter to employees, CEO Eric Artz noted that outdoor specialty retail has experienced 4 quarters of decline, and that trend has been worsening. While REI was able to outperform this much of the last year, he said this trend caught up to the company in the fourth quarter, and difficult conditions are expected in 2024. Difficult conditions are expected in 2024? Oh, really? Who could have seen that one coming? After their deal with Amazon fell through, iRobot announced that 31% of its staff will be hitting the bricks. Amazon and iRobot, the maker of the popular Roomba vacuum, mutually called off their investment of $1.7 billion acquisition deal Monday, citing numerous regulatory hurdles. Immediately after the deal was publicly squashed, iRobot announced that it would lay off 31% of its staff and that founder Colin Angle would step down from his role as CEO, citing a focus on profitability, stability and growth. Glenn Weinstein will serve as interim CEO. Shares of iRobot, IRBT, were down around 9% in noon trading following the news. Amazon, which was up about 0.5% in noon trading, will pay iRobot a previously agreed upon $94 million cancellation fee. Google, Microsoft, Levi, TikTok, Riot Games, eBay, Wayfair, and Macy's are some of the other big names that have also announced layoffs so far in 2024. But no industry is being hit harder than the mainstream media. Journalists across the country burst into flames of panic this week as bad news for the news business crested and erupted everywhere all at once. Patrick Soon-Shiong, the billionaire publisher of the Los Angeles Times, laid off 20% of his newsroom. Over at Time magazine, its billionaire owners Mark and Lynn Benioff did the same for 15% of their unionized editorial employees. This latest conflagration had ignited at Sports Illustrated the previous week as catastrophic layoffs were dispensed via email to most staffers. Business Insider, whose parent company Axel Springer also owns Politico, jettisoned 8% of its staff, while workers at Condé Nast, Forbes, and New York Daily News and elsewhere walked out to protest forthcoming cuts at their shops. Perhaps if they had not made a habit of blatantly lying to us over and over again during the past several years, they would not have lost all of their remaining credibility, and they would not have had to lay off so many workers. But even though so much is going wrong with the economy right now, many of the experts, quote unquote, continue to tell us that happier times are just around the corner. For example, Ed Yardeni insists that we will soon relive the roaring 20s. Ed Yardeni, a veteran market strategist, thinks the U.S. economy might be about to revive the roaring 20s. The Yardeni research president said during Friday's episode of Bloomberg's Marin Talks Money podcast that he's expecting a combination of loose post-pandemic monetary policy and rapid technological change to drive growth higher over the next decade. Wouldn't it be great if he was actually right? Of course, the truth is that he's just being delusional. Things are bad now, and things are going to get really bad during the second half of 2024 and beyond. If you still have a good job and a warm home to come back to at night, you should be very thankful, because most Americans are losing their jobs and losing their homes with each passing day, and the level of economic suffering that we're witnessing is already off the charts, Michael Snyder reports. This is by Michael Snyder, and he says about the author, my name is Michael, and my brand new book entitled Chaos is now available in paperback and for Kindle on Amazon. In addition to my new book, I've written 7 other books that are available on Amazon, including 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters, commissions earned. When you purchase any of these books, you help to support the work that I'm doing. And one way that you can really help is by sending copies as gifts to family and friends. Time is short and I need help getting these warnings into the hands of as many people as possible. I have also started a brand new Substack newsletter, and I encourage you to subscribe so that you won't miss any of my articles. I've published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the Most Important News. And the articles that I publish on those sites are republished on dozens of other prominent websites all over the globe. I always freely ask and happily allow others to republish my articles on their own websites, but I also ask that they include this about the author section with each article. The material contained in this article is for general information purposes only, and readers should consult licensed professionals before making any legal, business, financial, or health decisions. I encourage you to follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter. And any way that you can share these articles with others is definitely a great help. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, I strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. This is on the Economic Collapse blog by Michael Snyder. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.